call this meeting to order. Thank you for attending tonight's school committee meeting. Please join me in saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone could please join me in standing for a moment of silence. As we all know, unexpectedly lost a friend recently. A friend of mine. There, the chair of the school committee. So I'd just like to take a moment to hold some of us. Thank you. I believe we have a little presentation that will be speaking to Michelle was nice enough to together some pictures.
Good evening, everybody. I'd be in this situation that we'd all, lose a good friend. But Mayor Bill Carpenter will be dearly missed by myself and this body. Bill was a genuine and real hard-working person who never took himself too seriously. His signature laugh, which, as we all know, bordered on obnoxious, pretty much proved that. Everyone knew when he was around, and he certainly enjoyed a good joke, and certainly enjoyed laughing with all of us. For the last 10 years, Bill has been an elected official, 4 years on the school committee, and almost 6 years as mayor. For better or for worse, I talked him into running for school committee back about 10 years ago, and he did, because he loved kids and wanted to make a change. And he agreed to do that. He worked, as we all know, extremely hard. In the city, he addressed public safety right away. That was one of his big issues the city needed to deal with. The development of downtown, new buildings, development, cleaning things up, and he certainly has made progress on that. And good things are on the cusp of happening with other projects. He certainly advocates and is a partner with all of us in terms of going after the state for more funding, for the equitable funding of education. That's a fight that we will all continue to do, and we will definitely succeed at that fight. Bill wore many hats. He was a very interesting person. When I first met Bill, he was an insurance agent, then he was a realtor, and then he was a radio talk show host, or he was a radio talk show host while doing all those other things. He was a bartender. He was a high school sports announcer, at the ball games here, and he invited me on a few occasions when he would be doing professional boxing ring announcements. I went to the Roxy on many times with him, and it was always a fun night, and he was, in his tuxedo, quite the character, and just a real interesting person. Obviously, he was on the school committee, our mayor. He left basically an indelible impression on people in terms of his hard work ethic. He gave so much of himself, and maybe now in the end he gave too much of himself and should have taken care of himself instead of putting everyone else first, because that's what he did. As we know, he recently lost his dad, and he was by his side. And he wouldn't take care of himself because he wanted to be with his father. So that was only about 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago. The biggest success in his life was his 6 children. Bill, who's police officer in the city, phenomenal. Mac. Ryan, Brady, Curran, Delaney, in good times, he was always sharing their successes. In tough times, he was never ashamed to step up and help his children who needed help, and was always open and honest about, substance abuse. And I think that's why people really cared for him, because he told you the truth. He never hid anything that was, maybe some people would try to pretend something doesn't exist, but he wouldn't. He, faced substance abuse head on, and a lot of people would turn to him because they certainly could see that he knew what he was doing. He was successful with getting people help, and they reached out to him for help, and he never turned his back. And I think that's why he was so successful and well-liked because, he would be open and honest with them, and they could take what he says as being real. And I think that was one of his best attributes and qualities. He could never have done it without the support of his partner and longtime best friend, Julie Smith. Julie was his support, loved him, laughed with him. The two of them together were quite the show, as we all know, and she provided a home for him, a place to, go home and just enjoy. So I think that we all know that Bill was a true champion of the city. He's a dear friend that I will miss, and a mayor I think the city certainly is going to miss. So God bless him, and rest in peace. Thank you. If anyone else would like to say a few words, certainly feel free.
I just wanted to say that, being on the school committee this is our 4th year for many of us. This is the only administration we've served as far as under Bill Carpenter. So, we've gotten to know him. We might not have always agreed when it came time to voting on things, but deep down, his laughter. He was just, always welcoming and always found, a way to make us laugh. And so he definitely will be missed. I had the opportunity to attend the wake, the funeral, and his farewell yesterday. Sometimes, if someone can see how much of an impact they've had on a city, I think he really would be proud of Brockton. And to see how we all came together as one, put our differences aside, and we all came together as one to bid him farewell. So he will definitely be missed, and I can't believe I'm crying on camera. Thanks, Bill. I could probably hear him laughing now. But all I can say is a lot of people have been thinking of Brockton, praying for Brockton, and it's not easy what we've gone through. It doesn't happen often. I believe this is only the 2nd time in our history. And we're just all very lucky. Brockton's strong. I mean, we all came together. Everyone came together and supported each other through this time. And we are going to get through, and Brockton, we are the champions. We are the city of champions. So I just want to say thank you, and to his family. You're in our thoughts and prayers. There are no words to express the sadness that you're feeling. There's nothing we can do, but we are all here for you. So, we're definitely here. But thank you.
The last time we were here, we bid farewell to Superintendent Smith, and one of the things that I remarked about her was her work ethic and the way that she attacked her job. And Bill really matched her, and probably hard to do, but probably exceeded her, because he, like we heard, he slept 4 hours a night. And to do that, to dedicate yourself to something like that is truly amazing. And it really did show, especially in that slideshow that Michelle put together, which was really very nice. Thank you, Michelle. All the things that he has done as mayor that were impactful to children. I know he was our first supporter for track club. John Fidalgo came and presented to us one night, and Bill pulled him aside and said, whatever you guys need, I really like your idea. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know if that program would have been as successful as it's been today. And I really owe him a debt for that. And you never know. I always say this to students and to people that I talk to. You never know what kind of impact you'll have on somebody's life. And that was definitely a big thing for me personally. And the other thing that would be impactful was the nights that we would leave this place and go to Home Cafe and have some laughs and have some pizza. And he would light up the room. Bill just was a gregarious guy. He had a great personality. And when I had one of my first campaign events was at my house, and about half the people they didn't like Bill, but they hadn't met him yet. And he was one of those people that once you met him, he really could charm you. And he did turn a lot of people around once they met him. And I'll miss him. I really will. We had some good times, and you know, butted heads a few times, but it was all for the right thing. It was all for Brockton, and to move this city forward, and to do the best thing for the kids in the city. And you know, as long as we have that common goal, we'll be okay.
Well, I thought I would share probably the first conversation that I remember having with Bill was when he was first running for mayor, and that was the year I first ran for school committee. We were at George's Cafe, and you know, he wished me well, and then went on to talk for a few minutes about you know, how being on the school committee was a lot of work, but that it was well worth it and very rewarding. And he talked a lot about how rewarding serving on this committee was. So, you know, as a colleague on this committee, like others have said, you know, we may have disagreed a few times, but we could always shake hands after and, you know, agree that the friendship was first, and put our differences aside. And you know, so I really appreciated that about Bill. But and he also was a friend to me once when I really needed one. And you know, I don't know if I ever told him what it meant to me, but it meant a lot, more than he probably knew. So I will also, like everybody, miss him.
I just wanted to say, when he first became mayor, I couldn't believe, like, he wanted to find out everything he could about the city. So, I mean, you could find him anywhere looking at things and saying, what can we do about this? He really cared a lot about the schools. He cared a lot about the kids, and that Brockton would have a good name. He really cared about the positive image of the city and the schools and the kids. So, thank you, Bill, for everything you've done, because I believe he really made a lot of changes in this city.
Yes. The first time I met Bill was 10 years ago when he first came on the school committee, and I come on with him. After the election, we got shipped to Hyannis. I'm just going to call it school committee school that we had to go to. And it turned out to be a real fabulous weekend. There's things that happened over the course of these 10 years. Bill has really done me a lot of favors. And I think Bill is remarkable as far as he was everywhere. Anything that happened in Brockton, whether it was a cutting a ribbon, or a sports event, or an open building, Bill was there. I've seen him at car accidents, when kids were hit. He was there. He was everywhere. And I just wanted to thank him for everything he has done. And to be honest, Tom, he's changed my life for the things that he have done for me. And I'll be forever grateful for that. And he really will be missed. He was a fabulous mayor, fabulous man, and a good friend. And I will miss him. Rest in peace, Bill.
I go back 25 years ago when I had a few of Bill's boys in school at East Junior High when I taught there. And then 10 years ago, when I came downtown from Brockton High as Executive Director of Operations, I worked closely with Bill because he was the head of Facility Subcommittee, and he was all about making schools and facilities, playgrounds, fields better for kids. So we spent a ton of time putting a new playground in over at the Plouffe, always doing something to try to make our fields better. Matt Malone at the time, Bill and Matt worked closely on the new Recovery High School back then that's still across the street. If it wasn't for Bill Carpenter, that wouldn't exist. He pushed that to put all the superintendents together in the South Shore, to put the application in, and we probably spent at least 6 meetings a month for my first year downtown working on that Recovery High School. And his tenacity with getting that school was just amazing. And you could see him really push the superintendents of the surrounding suburbs to really support that with the Department of Public Health. And if it wasn't for Bill pushing that and pushing Superintendent Malone along, you would not have seen that Recovery High School, which is still across the street today, and how many kids it's graduated over the last 10 years. And then we worked really closely when we got the Rocky statue to come. It was Bill, myself, and Ken Thompson, and along with a group of people, but pretty much we were able to get that statue from Mexico all the way to here at Brockton High. And Bill always knew, as his chief of staff Nick said, that he knows that he knew that I got up at 4:30 every morning. So probably 3 times a week I was on the phone at 4:30 with Bill, because he always loved to know who was up early, and so he could actually talk to you. So I miss those texts in the morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock. A few times it did take me off the treadmill, but I always got off to talk to Bill. But he was always supportive of the kids of Brockton. He always put the kids first. As all his kids went through the school system, he loved the Brockton Public Schools. He did everything he could to make it better. He was my friend and a supporter of the schools. I also talked to Kathy Smith today, who wanted me to pass along. She had a very difficult time at the wake, at the funeral, and she wanted me to pass along her heartfelt wishes and sorrows for Bill's passing, and her prayers to the family. And again, we all pray for Bill's family, and may he rest in peace.
Before we move on to our regular agenda, I would like to openly welcome Mayor Moses Rodriguez, who will now be our mayor and who this body will look forward to working with, because we know that as a counselor and as just an individual, Mayor Rodriguez looks out for children, loves children, and as long as we do the right thing for children, we'll do it together and we will succeed. Welcome, Mayor Rodriguez. Look forward to working with you. Please. Yep.
Well, thank you. Before I begin, I just want to say something to the Deputy Superintendent. I can guarantee you're not going to get a text from me at 4 o'clock in the morning. That much I can tell you. Although I was elected to just last night to take his spot, Bill and I didn't see eye to eye sometimes on a lot of the, a great deal of political issues here in the city. Because we're not twins. We were not born from the same wound, and we see things a little different sometimes. One thing that we had in common was the great love for the city. I live and breathe Brockton, and he does the same thing. I think he did the same thing. So one of the things that I've told the staff, both at City Hall and in his office itself, is that we'll all be judged at the end of this, at least at the end of this term, and what did we do to make sure that his legacy did not get tarnished. And that's what I intend to do. I said from the get-go, although elected mayor, this isn't really my administration, it's his administration. And the work that was started and the work that has been, his processing in a sense is something that I'm gonna try like hell to make sure it gets done. It gets done for the good of the city. It also gets done for the memory of Bill Carpenter, because I think that's what he wanted to do. I mean, since I got elected president of the city council, him and I have had long conversations, some work-related, some not work-related, and we've gotten to a lot closer in terms of communicating. I've told him when I saw him just last Thursday, I came across and said, "Bill, you don't look good," and that's not the word I use, by the way, because I know we're on TV. And he looks at me and says, "Well, look at you." I said, "Well, at least mine is pregnancy, you know." But that's the kind of relationship that we had grown to have, and I'm glad that I was actually elected to take his spot, because I think it affords me the opportunity to do some things that he wanted done, and I think we're going to work hard to make him proud of us as a city. I talked to my friends in the city council, and I've also mentioned it to the vice president of the school committee, and I'm mentioning this to you folks here today, that I think for at least the next 6 months, we're not going to have city council, mayor's office, city council, school committee. We're going to have city government, and we're all going to come together and do what we can for the city. You know, we're not going to have barriers and walls. We're going to work together to make sure that every single thing that we do, everybody is aware of what we're doing, so that we feel that this is city government at work. You know, and I've told some people, you know, I do some work with the New England Patriots at the stadium, and one of the things, the motto that we live by at that stadium is "Do your job." And we all have a job to do. I mean, some people are not paid as high as others, but regardless how it is, you're still being paid to do a job, and we expect everybody to do their job, because that's what Bill would expect from all of us. So I leave it here, although I'm not, you know, I'm going to be around for 6 months, probably going back to the city council. But the 6 months that I'm here, I'm going to bust my tush to make sure that this city moves forward, and I work with every single one of you to make sure that we do so, because this is a city that we love. There's no other place like Brockton. I don't care if you're moving out of town or whatever you're doing, but there's no place like Brockton. So we need to make sure that we keep that in mind, and we all pull together and work for the good of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At the next meeting, Mayor Rodriguez, as the chair, will naturally be sitting where he rightfully belongs, but out of respect, he graciously agreed to sit next to me, which is nice of him tonight. So, second item on the agenda is our hearing of visitors. There are no visitors this evening, so we can move on to the consent agenda, which is the third item. The consent agenda is the bundling of routine matters for vote and consideration and approval. It is an opportunity that any school committee member can remove any item for discussion. Is there any item under consent agenda that anyone would like to discuss separately? Okay, seeing none, then could someone make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve items A and B on the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 4, communication. And we'll go right into report of the superintendent of schools. Good evening, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Minicello, and I, on behalf of the Brockton Public Schools, want to welcome Mayor Rodriguez. I was thrilled last night when I heard the news. The mayor and I have, the last several months, have spoken often on the phone well past 4:30 in the morning, but I want everybody to know here, and everybody that's watching, and the members of the Brockton Public Schools, that every time that I have talked with Mayor Rodriguez, it's always been about support for the kids of Brockton and the kids of the school system, and also support how the community in the city council could always support the Brockton Public Schools and the kids. So those are always the conversations that we have had and we will have. So we really appreciate you having you with us. I'm going to start. I'm going to bring down Dr. Moran, who is going to give us an update on all the work that's been going on with the Human Resources Department. I'm thrilled to say that this is the first summer in several years that the Human Resources Department has been able to focus on hiring people. and not worried about laying people off and moving our teachers from school to school and grade level to grade level. And I can't say enough how great that's been for the school district, the tone, the culture of the school district, because of not having any layoffs. And thanks to the school committee and the city council and the mayor for supporting our schools and not having any layoffs has been, so it's been busy in human resources, but in a good way.
Good busy.
So I'll let Dr. Moran give you an update.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Good evening, everyone. As Mike said, it's a good busy. It's good to be able to hire people into open positions. Currently, we actually have 71 vacant certified positions across the district, which includes teachers, nurses, administrators, all of the certified positions. We'll talk later in the summer about the non-certified paras, MTAs, custodians, things like that. But we do have 71 openings. In human resources, both Tracy Holland and Matt Beals have been working to do all of the hard work that comes along with processing the paperwork and completing the hiring once recommendations come into the human resources office. And in addition to that, all the administrative assistants play some role in making sure that people who come in have their paperwork completed, whether it be applicant tracking, where we take in applications either by paper or by email, collection of transcripts, processing queries, getting feedback from, getting fingerprints back, processing the personnel actions, preparing the letters. Each one of the people in human resources plays a significant role in making sure that we onboard everyone and we have all the documentation so that we can get people into the classrooms. Interested candidates who would like to apply for any positions can either check out our HR webpage on the Brockton Public Schools website or access SchoolSpring, which is our paperless applicant tracking system. And we'll, in the office, people who come through the office get walked through all of the processing of all of the paperwork. There's quite a bit before we can move them along. So if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to check out the website, check out SchoolSpring, or contact Human Resources directly. But we will continue to work to make sure that we have highly qualified, certified staff in every classroom before school starts in September. Thanks.
Kathy, how are the principals feeling in terms of not having to reshuffle the deck, so to speak, with you know, the riffing process and seniority and positions and all that good stuff?
So that process was taken care of with, as you know, over the last couple of years, we still had a RIF list, so we've gone through that to make sure that anyone who was interested in coming back did. I can tell you that, honestly, this is the first summer where I haven't received daily emails from principals. I think they're all off on their vacations, so I know that they feel very good. The ones who do have openings are still, they're still working, but I know that they're very happy to be able to keep the staff in their buildings that they have hired and that they have put some time into for professional development. No one wants to have turnover like that, so I know the principals, like I said, they're quiet, so they're happy.
Okay, great.
I'm happy.
Yes, Kathy, on the 71 jobs, are you at least a bit worried that they may not be filled?
No. Thankfully, even over the past couple of years with all of the layoffs, Brockton still has a really great reputation. People contact us even when they hear that we have pink slips out, and people still want to work here in Brockton because we do have a good reputation. So I don't have any fear in that. We do have some hard to fill positions in the special education department. We're always looking for people who are properly licensed there. When it comes to teachers who are ESL certified, English as a second language, the state sees a shortage in that area. And in addition, I know Mr. Thomas will talk about this, but we're always looking for highly qualified candidates, but we're also looking to diversify our staff in every area. But again, the state itself is looking at a real shortage of people from various backgrounds who are currently licensed and ready to teach in Brockton, or in any place in Massachusetts. But I don't fear that we'll have qualified people in every classroom. If we do start the year with a vacancy, which we always do because of whatever reason, some people leave very close to the start of school, we make sure we have a qualified substitute in there, and we continue to look for a licensed, certified, DESE licensed person for the classroom.
Just that it's been so long since you've hired.
I know.
It's got to be different
Feels
for you.
good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. DiAgostino?
I just wanted to say, the last 6 years, I believe, of having to issue RIFs and then callbacks and the transfers and all of the, it's been difficult for all the people that had to be RIFed and called back and transferred, but it's also put a lot of work on you and your staff. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate everything that you guys have done to get us through that span of time, and it's actually nice to be able to have this kind of a conversation with you, where we're not talking about those types of things and able to talk about bringing some people back and hopefully making an impact on class sizes. I know we're all hearing from people on, but thank you for everything you guys did to help with getting us through those years.
You're welcome. The Human Resources Department works extremely hard. There is no downtime for us. And I want to thank the people out there who did receive the RIF notices over the last couple of years who still want to stick with us and stay
Yeah.
here because it's a great place to work.
Absolutely, they stuck with us, and I meant to add, I recall probably more than one of those years getting an email from you at 11 o'clock on a Friday night confirming that the callback notices had gone out, and so I do know just how much time you were putting into keeping that all moving.
Thanks for pointing out I don't have a social life. I appreciate it.
That's not how that was supposed to go.
I know. Fine. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moran.
Thank you very much.
So next, I'm going to bring up Aldo Petronio to give us an update on the FY20 budget.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, haven't heard anything new from the state as far as the compromise committee. Spoken to various state reps, and it's still being hashed out amongst the committee. This past week at the superintendent's conference, I actually had a chance to talk to the Commissioner Riley, because in the House budget, they had set aside about $30 million that he could decide on where and how to use it. And his focus was on urban settings. So I asked him, I said, have you heard from the compromise committee? Do you know if they're going to cut your funds or give you, all the funds to spend? And he said, no, he hadn't heard what they're going to do. I said, well, what's your take on it? He said, well, he's hoping 60-40 that he'll get at least half the money, if not more. And so I advocated and basically explained to him that we need that badly. I told him that we still currently have a $5 million shortfall. We didn't have any layoffs, but we've cut most of our substitute teacher budget out, our technology budget, our curriculum monies. We've cut in many other areas because we couldn't do another layoff. I said, so it's really important that we see something from that. And he's very sincere. He said he's going to do what he can. And so then a few minutes later, I saw Kathy Smith, and I said, go beat him up. So hopefully we'll have something. But they had said mid-July, so hoping very soon to hear something on that. And as soon as we do, we'll schedule a finance meeting to discuss it.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Petronio? Okay. So please certainly give us any updates as you receive them. We would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Aldo. So just an update on some information about the executive team. As you know, when I sent a memo, I will not be replacing myself as the deputy superintendent. So when the budget finalizes, you can obviously discuss how you want to use the savings from that position, hopefully to obviously bring back a couple teachers and maybe some paras. But the work will be spread out. I want to thank my executive team. So I will be keeping community schools, transportation in the grants, and I'll also be doing any due process hearings for grades 9 to 12. I currently do those pretty much throughout the whole district, but anything in the younger grades, K to 5, which are not many, will go to June Saber, and Dr. Murray will take due process appeals in the middle schools, and I'll keep the high school ones, because obviously Dr. Murray can't do his own at the high school. Also, June Saber will pick up the Parent Information Center for me, K to 5. Sharon will pick up 6 to 12 at the Parent Information Center. June will also pick up technology with Dan Vision and the help desk. She'll also oversee the expansion of pre-K as there's some grants coming out, so those are additional duties to the several that she already has. Sharon, on top of picking what she already has as the Chief of Student Support Services, will pick up the alternative schools from me, our new intervention program, any transfers that have to happen throughout the schools in grades 6 to 12, the handbooks, and I'll actually send some emails out to you to give you a breakdown of everything. And she'll also see our oversee our community mentor program. Dr. Moran has a lot to finish with the open bargaining with the BEA. There's some open issues we have to settle, and also the importance of recruiting and hiring teachers and administrators. Dr. Murray will come back and help us with our middle schools. He'll be working closely with Sharon in June. Obviously, we have 3 schools in turnaround at the middle school, so we'll be tapping into Dr. Murray's expertise as his years at West to work with Sharon and June and really work with those turnaround schools in all the middle schools. He'll do all my parent complaints, 6 to 8 as well, as Dr. Murray has always been great with working with parents. And he also now will pick up all athletics, grades 6 to 12, which, he and I work together on anyway, but he'll also pick up the middle school athletics now. Aldo will continue to oversee, obviously, the budget, but he has to approve all any travel requests. There'll be no out-of-state travel unless it's required by a grant. And also, there are some money in the BEA budget. Is it Article 20? 26? It's an article in the BEA contract that allows for professional development for travel, which Aldo will also oversee. Again, but, travel is limited to one travel that is needed for professional development or required by a grant. And then Dr. Cobbs, the principal at the Edison, I'm going to tap into his extensive expertise in the area of facilities and operations. Dr. Cobbs is a master electrician. He spent years before his educational career managing large nursing homes, all the operations for nursing homes. I'm going to hand the MSBA projects over to Dr. Cobbs, which is a huge piece. That's too big for Jamie and Ken to deal with facilities in-house. And hopefully, if we have the Huntington School roof. Those are several meetings that Dr. Cobbs will have to attend. And if we end up with the North renovation project, that's pretty much a full-time job. And Dr. Cobbs will oversee that. He'll also be working with Lieutenant Vidaro and I for safety and security. And he'll be working on helping with decisions about school cancellations, working with the mayor's office in the DPW on snow and those kind of things. So, but also maintaining his night job at Edison Academy. And also, Dr. Murray will be maintaining principal at Brockton High. So I'm requiring everybody to work harder. And then Dr. Cancel, he is looking into our TAG expansion, hoping to expand our TAG program and branching it out to other schools as we're going to explore that. He's also our district review liaison with the Department of Ed. Ethan has a great relationship with the Department of Education, so any reviews that come through the Department of Ed will go through Ethan. The new position that came back for Instructional and Technology Director, Mr. DuPont, will also work right under Dr. Cancel. And he also is going to roll out our new Connect Ed, which is now School Messenger, which is the way we communicate with parents. Ethan will oversee that rollout and also the expansion of our parent portal so our parents have access, obviously, to their children's grades. So, and then Sharon, June, and Cliff are going to be working, and they'll work closely with the school committee to develop a new draft schedule for our middle schools, so we get a more uniform schedule for all our middle schools. I know this is something that Mr. Mendicello has spoken over the last 10 years on the school committee to make our middle schools much more uniform, so when one student goes from east to west or from south to Ashfield, that they're actually receiving the same kind of not only same education, but the amount of minutes for schedules, but obviously that will be a task force that's worked on with Kim Gibson, union members and administration to work together to put a draft together that we can come together and present to the school committee sometime in April. And not just one size fits all, maybe 2 or 3 schedules that middle schools could choose from. So that's a big task that I'm going to ask them to work on. So that's just an update on executive team members. To talk about some other items and again, some of these administrative appointments you have heard about. As Dr. Soraya DeBarros is now, in the middle of October, she'll be moving as the new Director of Community Schools, which I know she'll do a great job of really expanding community schools and bringing the community together. So she'll be moving into that position in October. Once we get to that October 1st, as you know, she'll be working with Marcia Andrade Serpa, who is the new Parent Information Director. But Soraya is going to stay with Marcia through October 1st because Margot Mason does not retire until October from Director of Community Schools, and we want to make sure that October 1st number is as high as it can be. So Soraya will be staying with the Parent Information Center until that October 1st number, and then she'll move up to community schools. I just talked about Marcia. Mr. Desmond, who's currently the Azure Assistant Dean, has been appointed as the interim coordinator of vocational career education, grades 6 to 12. He'll start that August 19th. So Dr. Murray will be interviewing for a new assistant dean in the Azure building. That's an opening. Mr. Kevin DuPont is now the interim director of instructional technology, which will be supporting our teachers and our administration with rolling out technology and hopefully our goal to get one-on-one devices to all students, and he'll play a big part in that. Dr. Kelly Silva, the principal of East, has now moved to be the principal of the new, hopefully the Promise High School. We have a year planning grant for the new Innovation Promise High School, and Dr. Silva will be working closely with Sharon to make sure next year it's up to a $5 million grant we can get for a new Promise High School. So she'll spend next year as the principal of the Promise High School, but that's a planning year. And then we'll find out probably next May if we get that full grant. And some other moves that I sent out, Carol McGrath, because of the appointment of Marcia Andrade Serpa to the Parent Information Center, that's opened up a principal's job, so there were some moves made with principals. Carol McGrath, who's the principal at the Raymond, will be moving to the Unknown as principal. John Kelly, principal at the Downey, is moving to the Angelo to be principal there. Colleen Prowler, current principal at Unknown, has moved to Downey to be the principal at the Downey. Perry Jacobs was the assistant principal at the Downey. She is moving to the Barrett Russell to be the assistant principal. Nicole Ford, who's the assistant principal at the Unknown, is at the Hancock, has moved to the Unknown. Adam St. Peter, who was the assistant principal at the Unknown, has moved to the Gilmore School, and there was an opening there because of retirement. And then we have Diane Lynch moving over to North to take over as principal to close out that and also oversee an intervention program. And so she'll be principal at North. So right now, closing soon, advertised, we have an opening for the Raymond School principal, the East interim principal, South principal, Hancock assistant principal, Downey assistant principal, East assistant principal, and the assistant dean in the Azure. So a lot of moves, so please don't think I'm losing my mind, but but there's a lot of changes, and again, I think the changes are good. Some of our principals needed a change, needed a new school, new environment, and again, we're not going to sugarcoat things. We have 7 schools in turnaround. And we need to work hard to improve our schools. And again, a lot of that has to do when you lay off hundreds of people and have over $60 million in a deficit over 6 years. You decimate a school system, and that is, I feel, the major reason why we have schools in turnaround, teachers moving all over the place, young people getting laid off, who had mentors, and class size being big, losing paras at the kindergarten level. All these things has played into a really tough time to be a teacher in the Brockton Public Schools. And hopefully now with no layoffs and some change in administration, we can get back to where we were before. And hope, again, and that depends on the state, what they do and come through the budget. And I said this during Kathy's retirement parties, and I said it several times. Anybody could be superintendent during the years when money was flowing in, but when you spend 6 years and $60 million in a deficit, that is a tough time to be a superintendent and hold the district together, which she did, and we appreciate that, which she did over 6 years. And now hopefully it's time that the state comes through for us and we really can build the district back. So, and obviously we need to do that together. So, so hopefully some of these changes work out well, which I'm sure they will. All of our administrators are professional, hardworking people, and I know the ones that have moved into their new schools will do a great job. Dr. Moran's office will be reaching out to some of you school committee members for you to serve on the interview teams for in a school that's in your ward that's looking for a principal. We want to make sure that we have a school committee member from the ward on the interview team, along with a teacher from the school and also a parent from the school. So we'll be doing that for the Raymond, we'll be doing that for East, and also for South. So you'll be, some of you will get a call from Dr. Moran. So, and let me make sure that, and Mr. Minicello, that is all for the superintendent's report, and I'll take any questions if anybody.
Can we just add, Principal Cobb's, there's a graduation Thursday
Oh, yes,
evening?
thank you. Yep.
Could you just
Yes,
announce that?
The Edison summer graduation is taking place Thursday night. Dr. Cobbs, myself, and Ken Thompson and Jamie Domestico are meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We're watching the weather closely. Dr. Cobbs had a great idea. This year's graduation for Thursday night is going to be outside on the field to allow more people to watch the graduation, but obviously now we're tracking the remnants from Barry, I think the storm was called, that's coming up the coast.
Barry.
I know we're supposed to get really heavy rain tomorrow. It's supposed to linger into Thursday, but we're going to have to watch what time it ends. The tough thing about that is we have to have a tent set up. We have to have, especially the sound system set up. That's the same sound system we use for the high school graduation, so it's going to be touch and go, and we do have to give 24 hours notice to the tent company and also the sound system guy. So we'll make a decision tomorrow morning, and if it has to change, it would change back to inside. And I know Dr. Cobb sent out an invitation to all of you, so you're welcome to obviously join us on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And how many graduates?
300 total graduates, 210 will attend the graduation ceremony.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. I went last year, and the year before it was great. I mean, because the students are just so excited, and I mean, there's some speakers, student speakers, and they really tell the story about how traditional school did not work and how hard they worked to, get their degree and the good moves they're making going forward in terms of, pursuing a future. And it's great. It's really great to see.
Yeah, and a lot of those students that Dr. Cobbs has worked with making sure they have jobs during the day, solid jobs, actually. A lot of them work in the healthcare industry with our local hospitals, so they can work during the day. Some have to obviously support their families, and then, able to go to school at night and earn, again, a diploma. Not a certificate of attainment, but when they pass MCAS and go through and successfully complete the credits needed at Edison, that is a high school diploma from the Brockton Public Schools. So it's been a major program for our school system. It really has helped keep our dropout rate low, and has really provided opportunities for kids, especially students that struggle at home with their families, with either parents or grandparents that are medically fragile and can't work. So when these students become older, they're able to work to support their family, but also complete their high school diploma. So it's been a great program.
Anyone else? Okay, items to refer to subcommittee? Anyone? No? Any unfinished business? No? Okay. Under new business, we have the ratification of interim superintendent's contract, which we met on June 25th. Had a meeting. We went over the parameters of the contract, and it was approved at that subcommittee meeting. That subcommittee meeting was in executive session at the time due to the negotiations. However, those minutes will be released, and certainly the contract will become tonight a public document if ratified by the school committee. So the interim superintendent contract, which will run from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Right, Aldo? Yeah, okay. Is up for ratification tonight. So those are the minutes of the superintendent contract subcommittee meeting. If we could have a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the superintendent subcommittee contract meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes? Okay. And then all in favor of ratifying the contract that was negotiated at that subcommittee meeting? I need a motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify as well.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, great. Also, under new business, just to let the committee know, I was contacted by the Naval Academy, Annapolis, who wants to pursue students in the city of Brockton. They don't feel that they're getting enough applicants from the city of Brockton. So there's no out-of-state travel to approve. Apparently, the government will pay for my airfare and lodging. But what they want to do is have some people from the community come down, see what it's all about, see what the requisites are for the kids, have people from the community go back, report to, work with guidance, at the high school, to get kids interested and know really what are the ins and outs of applying to, the Naval Academy, because some people think it's just a big mystery and they're not sure exactly of what it is, so they really don't want to get into it. You have to get some approval from, I think a senator or representative. So I'm going to find out exactly what is entailed with all the details, because I don't have all the answers. I really don't have any answers just yet. So I think it'll be a good experience, a non-financial burden for the Brockton Public Schools. I think my wife will probably be happy, get me out of the house for a few days. So I think it's August 1st, 2nd, and I come back the 3rd, which is a Saturday. So that's what's cooking. So when I come back, I'll bring all the materials. I'll certainly report into the body and let everyone know, what it was all about, get whatever materials we need, work with guidance at the high school, meet with Principal Murray and, the head of guidance, I guess, and, figure out what the next steps are to get our students, aware of and interested, in the Naval Academy, which certainly is a great opportunity. So that was pretty interesting to get that invitation, so.
I just wanted to take a moment to just let everyone know that Cradles to Crayons, many of you know that I've been partnering with them, and so has Brockton Public Schools for the past, this is our 4th year. And when I sat back and thought about it, I got a phone call yesterday, and after the phone call, I was just in awe. When I sat back and thought, we're going to be up to 8,000 backpacks that they've donated that have supplies in them. And then they gave us jackets and hats and gloves this past winter. And then about a month and a half, 2 months ago, they gave us thousands of books, school supplies, some toiletries. So, when you sit back and you realize we were going through major budget cuts, and here's Cradles to Crayons helping us out, giving back to our students. So, my contact is amazing, Kerry Wolf. We have such a wonderful rapport, and they have asked us, and I'm excited to announce that they would like us to. They've asked me to speak before 800, 800 volunteers. So, and that's going to be on August 2nd. So, if we can have some school committee members, I don't know the specifics, but she mentioned something about Brockton being their partner. They're choosing us to be their partner for the year. I don't know what that involves. I'm getting more info. This all just came about yesterday afternoon. So if anyone would love to attend with me, it's going to be August 2nd. There's going to be volunteers. We're going to be addressing them. But, you know, they pretty much just want us to speak and just, they've given us when we didn't have a lot to give back. So we were able to help our teachers, our principals, and our students, especially during the winter months when so many of them are going into their own pockets to help our students. So again, we're going to be getting our backpacks. We're getting them a little earlier this year, so I'm going to reach out to Melinda, and we're going to reach out to our principals to see. I believe we're up to 2,500. I think they gave us an extra 500 backpacks this year, so we're able to give some more. If anyone's watching, that, you know, financially, if we can help you, reach out to us. My information's online. I can get you some backpacks. I know sometimes it's a financial burden for so many parents when they're trying to, you know, you have more than one child. It gets very expensive trying to give them just the basics to get back to school. So those will be available. And hopefully I can see a few of you with me on August 2nd so we can represent Brockton.
Where is it?
It's going to be, actually it's going to be over in Roxbury. And
August 20th, I believe.
it will be on Friday, August 2nd in Roxbury. And I can get you the information. We're going to be at the Reggie Lewis Center. So they will, you know, have a designated area for us.
I'll be glad to help.
Thank you, thank you. So it's a way to just tell them thank you for always supporting us. So, and I'd love to invite them and do something special for them because they've just done so much in a short period of time. Yeah, definitely invite them maybe in September, October.
I didn't have anything prepared, and then I'm sitting here, we all have these cards that say there'll be a Brockton Youth art show on July 20th, and I'm looking at it and think, this is on my refrigerator because my daughter has something in the show. And the Fuller Art Museum is free to Brockton residents, and this show will be on display until October 6th. So it's a great opportunity to see some of the great things that our students are doing right in this very building that we're in now. And see some actual student work that's being displayed. And I'd like to thank the Fuller Art Museum for supporting our artists because it's actually a field that's really growing. People don't realize that, but it's a growing field. And there's a lot of opportunity for our kids to express themselves and make a nice living for themselves. So please get out and support them.
And going off of art, you can also feel free to stop by the Raymond School as the Summer of Work and Learning is working on, and then Brett's daughter is one of those students that working on the new mural at the Raymond School that that you approved last time. So they always do a great job with the murals. You see the one they did last year at the Gilmore. This year it's at the Raymond. So feel free to stop by anytime to take a look at the job that they do.
And shout out to Laura DiDonato, who does our murals every year. She's probably 6 months pregnant, out there every day in the hot sun, 90-degree weather, working with the kids 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So she's been a real asset to this community. So I'd like to thank her, too, for her work.
I just have one item, the bid review.
Certainly.
Do you want this under new business or old business or?
It's new business because it was tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's new business.
just that the bid review committee, subcommittee met tonight at 6 o'clock right here. We had 2 items to vote on. The first item was the low bid went to Ockers of Brockton for the hourly rate of $71.49. It was unanimous to accept that bid. The second bid was for a roof on the Parent Information Center, which I understand belongs to the city of Brockton, but we're helping to pay for the roof. And I'm not sure if we have the figure yet.
Yeah, Aldo, what's the figure on the roof?
The total cost is $204,150 of our extraordinary maintenance, which is for that purpose, and the city's paying the other $54,000 for public property.
Yeah, it's a capital repair, so any capital repair has to come out of the city funds. So it's $150,000 from what they put into our maintenance account for anything that happens, obviously a boiler, roof. So that comes out of the city, and then they added another $54,000, and it usually comes out of public property, because we can't spend that much on one item for capital repair. It has to come from the city side. So, and that roof is needed. A couple of people are not using their offices because when it rains. So the next couple of days should be fun in the Parent Information Center.
So a motion was made by Joyce Azacker and seconded by myself, Tim Sullivan, that Wayne Roofing, not Azacker, Azak. Sorry.
You got it correct during the meeting.
It's my doctor. I can't get over it.
I just have to turn it around like this.
I feel like she keeps on reminding me, and it just slipped out.
I know, we actually joked around. I said, oh, you got my last name correct for the first time. We weren't on camera though, Mr. Sullivan.
A motion was made by school committee woman Joyce Azak to accept the low bid of Wayne Roofing Systems for $204,000. It was seconded by myself, and it was voted unanimous to accept. And I present it to the entire school committee for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, wonderful.
Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, excellent. Anything else?
No, again, let's take a shovel, together.
Very, very nice. One final bit of business. In our meeting this morning, Superintendent Thomas, Mr. Petronio, myself, and Mayor Rodriguez met to go over the agenda for tonight and things that are pending. And as we all know, there's the school committee seat for Ward 2. We have to have a joint session with the city council and the school committee. So at the suggestion of Mayor Rodriguez, I spoke to City Council President Bob Sullivan, who requested from the clerk that this joint session be scheduled for August 5th. I believe it will be 6 o'clock, but we're waiting for confirmation on the date and the time. So if people are interested, no one certainly is going to prevent anyone from submitting their name for the position, but of course you have to be a resident of Ward 2, so non-Ward 2 residents, need not apply, but they could address, their request to be considered to the clerk's office with respect to the position of Ward 2 school committee person. We will await confirmation from Mr. Zioli, of the scheduling of that, and then we will announce it, publicly, to confirm with the public that that is indeed the night, the time, and the place. I assume the place will be the City Hall chambers, City Council chambers. So, would you like to add anything to that, Mayor Rodriguez, or?
No, I think you've done a fine job with that particular one. But as I said earlier when we met, I think it's important for the residents of that ward to get their representation as soon as possible, and that's what the suggestion was, to do this as early as we possibly can, and that's why we came back with the special meeting of the body, because the council now meets on a summer schedule, in the sense if we waited until the regular council meeting, we're talking about the end of August, and I don't think that's fair to the residents of Ward 2. And we're suggesting that meeting, so more information to come. But I believe we shouldn't have a problem, and the clerk has been very accommodating to us, and he's also part of this government, and we're all going to work together to get this stuff done. So hopefully we'll get that done, and we'll get this new person brought in for by the time you come back here on the 20th.
Yes, that's the importance of having it prior to the next school committee meeting, which is August 20th. So if we have it prior to that meeting and the person, is voted in, then Ward 2 will have representation for the next school committee meeting, which is August 20th here.
Correct.
Okay, anyone else or anything else? I do not believe we need executive session unless someone knows something I don't. No? All right. If we have nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry, motion to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.